if you ever bet on the margin markets in the AFL, like the 1 to 39 or 40 plus, this video is going to really help you make more money from every bet that you're putting on. So firstly, my main goal when it comes to betting on AFL and betting on all sports is to maximize the profits from each bet I'm putting on. And so the first thing you can ever want to do, especially in this case, is shop around for the better lines, because between bookmakers, there's always big differences in this market. So, for example, St Kilda 1 to 39 with sports bets 218, but then on Bet365, it's only $2. The 40 plus, though, is at $4 compared to 380. And then for North Melbourne, 325 for the 1 to 39, it's only 310, $22 for the 40 plus compared to 14. Both companies have $51 for the draw, which over the past 5 years has only hit 8 times in the AFL. So it's hitting at less than 1%. So unless you're getting, well over $100 odds for the draw, then it's a negative EV bet. So just want to avoid that totally altogether. If it does land on the draw at the end of the game, then you just have to cop that loss. Because it just very rarely ever happens. And the betting companies don't give you sufficient enough odds to even cover it in your bets. But purpose of this video is to share with you guys a strategy to maximize your profits betting on these margin markets. So that was part one. Part two, and most important part, is when you're looking at these 1 to 39 and 40 plus markets, here is the results for 2023 for every team. And so you'll notice straight away there's a few trends, few teams lean one way or the other. For example, Adelaide won more games by 40 plus, but the majority of teams win most of their games by the 1 to 39 margin. As you notice, as you scroll through, Geelong were 50%. The rest of them, as we go through, were all fairly heavily favoring the 1 to 39. And then the same goes for how much they're losing their games by. And obviously you guys can look at this data and, pinpoint the teams where it stands out one way or the other. What I want to highlight though is just over 2/3 of games are decided by 1 to 39 compared to the 40 plus. So we can already kind of lean towards this 1 to 39. And this holds true over the past 5 years, going back to 2019, 71% of games are decided by 1 to 39 points. So now how do we maximize our profits betting on these games? So what we do is we break it down into the 19 or 1 to 19 margins, as opposed to just looking at the 1 to 39, because this is where we kind of see some patterns emerge for certain teams, and we can capitalize on that. We go over to Sportsbet and scroll down to margin markets, and then we go to winning margin spread. Here's our odds for each one. So you'll notice that 1 to 19 is $4 compared to the 1 to 39 at only $2.18, or even $2 on Bet365. So now what we want to come back over and do is see where teams kind of fall in these categories. And we're specifically focusing on these two columns here, first of all. And we can already see 42% of games teams win by the 1 to 19, and 27% of the time they're winning by 20 to 39. So we're already slightly leaning to the 1 to 19. And so, for example, Carlton had 9 wins, which fell between the initial 1 to 39 margin, but 8 of those 9 were by the 1 to 19. So if you're taking that, $2.20 for the 1 to 39, but in 8 of those 9 games, you could have been getting $4, for example. And obviously the odds are going to vary game to game, but virtually double the odds for the same bet. And it's effectively actually triple the payout you'd be getting from a $2 odds bet to a $4 odds bet. You're getting $300 back at $4 odds compared to just over $100 at $2.20. They're firstly a big standout. Then Collingwood, 11 of their 15 were by the 1 to 39. And also, when you look at the 40 plus margins, 5 of their 6 wins were by 60 plus. So when they won by 40 plus, 5 of the 6 times they went on and won by 60 plus anyway. So you should have taken the 60 plus in that situation. Pretty similar there for Geelong. Then as we go through, Port Adelaide, 8 of their 12 were by 1 to 19 in this gap here. West Coast, all 3 were by 1 to 19. So if you're going to take the Eagles to win a game, they're really only winning by small margins anyway. And then you can apply the same principle to how much teams were losing by. And still here, we're just looking at the 2023 information. So then if we zoom this out once again and bring it out to the past 5 years, we can see this trend kind of holds true. The majority of games, teams are winning by the 1 to 19. Next best is the 20 to 39 margin, and it slowly drops off. But, are there teams that stand out in certain categories, both on a win and loss perspective? So Carlton still winning majority of their games, 25 of 37, falling into the 1 to 39 bracket. Fremantle, 26 of 41. Essendon, I skipped over it, but 27 of 36. So quite a lot of teams falling into this 1 to 39 category. And here you can see like 56% of their games that they won were by 1 to 19 points. So the best way you can approach this is keeping track of this information. I have these tables all on investor.bet. And when you're looking at a matchup, so what you're trying to find is situations where you can take advantage of both teams in a situation. So you already handicapped the game the way you normally would, and I'll do other videos explaining that process. But when you're zoning in on trying to find a really good situation to take advantage of this. So firstly, the Western Bulldogs, the facts are the last 5 years, out of the 37 games they've lost by 1 to 39, 25 of them have been by the 1 to 19 margin. So if we have a matchup of, Western Bulldogs taking on Carlton, and we can see, okay, yeah, if we like Carlton to win this game by a small margin, instead of taking the 1 to 39, we'll take the 1 to 19, because the majority of the time when they win in that group, they're winning by 1 to 19. And when the Bulldogs are losing, they're falling into that same margin category. And same goes with other teams who consistently get blown out on 60 plus. You get the idea. So hopefully this video gave you some insight into how you can approach margin betting. I'm going to be posting videos all AFL season, giving you tips, strategies, and of course, my bets throughout the season. So make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos.